We'll discuss some problems regarding the electrical conductivity in metals and related to free electron gas today. So to discuss it, we have to recap the Drude model, and gradually I will follow few problems related to the electrical conductivity in metals. We all know that an important application of the Fermi-Dirac distribution is the clarification of the electrical conductivity and other physical properties of metals. For many years, electrical conductivity was considered a mystery, and only the discovery of the electron by J.J. Thomson in 1897 pointed to a possible mechanism for electrical conductivity in metals. The electric current is a current of electrons. Because the application of even the smallest potential of a metal wire gives rise to a significant electric current, metals must contain a huge macroscopic number of electrons that are moving essentially freely. This was the starting point for the first attempt to explain the conductivity in metals made by Drude in 1900. Macroscopic numbers of electrons immediately bring to mind a statistical treatment, and indeed to this is the approach to analyzing this problem. Since the only tools available to Drude at the turn of the 20th century were the kinetic theory and the Boltzmann distribution, he applied them to the electrons in metals, and he asserted that the conduction electrons in a metal behave as an ideal gas. So regarding this, the first problem is calculate the number of conduction electron per cubic centimeter of sodium and potassium. You have to solve it. We know that the valence of sodium and potassium is 1, and each of the atoms has a single outer electron. Hence the density of conduction electrons is equal to the number of atoms per unit volume. Sodium has an atomic weight of 23, namely 23 grams contain an Avogadro number of atoms. Its density is 0.97 gram per cc, and hence N of Na is equals to Avogadro number times the density divided by the molecular weight, the atomic weight. So it is 2.5 into 10 to the power 28 per meter cube. And the atomic weight of potassium is 39, and density is 0.86 gram per cc, and hence Nc for potassium is equals to 1.3 into 10 to the power 28 per meter cube. Further, a little bit of theory again. Okay, so based on these assumptions and applying the kinetic theory, we derive Ohm's law. Consider segment of metal wire along which there exists a uniform electric field. The wire contains a very large number of electrons that were moving about, with different speeds at different directions, as shown in this figure. The conduction in a metal wire. The velocity of an electron between two collisions is determined by the Newton's law. Mass times derivative of velocity, that is acceleration, is equals to charge times the electric field. That is velocity v is equals to v naught minus e by m e times t, where v naught is its velocity immediately after the last collision, and t therefore is the time elapsed from the last collision. Here it is noteworthy that an electric current exists only if the number of electrons moving to the right against the field is different from the number of electrons moving to the left. The relevant quantity is the average velocity, that is V average. Of all the free electrons at a given moment, we have to average this equation over all the free electrons in the wire. Each of them has undergone its last collision at a different time and has come out of it with a different velocity. Thus, if we have to average this equation overall, then we have to calculate the sum of averages, that is this term average of V naught. Average of V naught is the over all the electron velocities immediately after their last collision. Because the motions of the electrons are independent of one another and their collisions with the ions are random, so this vanishes. The average over V naught vanishes. And in the second term, we must calculate the average time elapsed since the last collision, and this is exactly the mean free path tau. So this turns out to be V average is equals to minus E tau by m times the electric field E, where tau is the mean free time of the electrons. The local form of Ohm's law is J is equals to sigma times C, where the electrical conductivity sigma is given by n square tau by m. The inverse of the electrical conductivity is called the electrical resistivity, that is rho is equals to 1 upon sigma, and between rho and the friction coefficient mu, both are inversely proportional to the mobility, and in fact both describe the resistance to the motion of the particles due to many collisions they undergo during their motion. An additional success to Drude's model was in providing an explanation for the experimental law that was discovered in the middle of the 19th century by Wiedemann and Franz, relating the electrical conductivity of metals to their thermal conductivity. According to the Wiedemann Franz, the ratio of the thermal conductivity K and the electrical conductivity is proportional to the temperature with a proportionality coefficient that is approximately independent of the material, that is 3k square over 2e square. This law applies to a large number of metals. To obtain an explanation for this law, Drude assumed that the thermal conductivity of a metal originates principally from the gas of free electrons, which can transfer heat with greater ease than the ions which are bound to their positions. Support for this assumption is found in the large difference between the thermal conductivities of metals and insulators. Since the difference between the two types lies in the density of free electrons, which in metals is many orders of magnitude greater than in insulators, it is natural to assume that the larger thermal conductivity is due to the same phenomena which gives rise to the higher electrical conductivity. Hence, we can also calculate the thermal conductivity of a metal by the kinetic theory, and as a result, this thermal conductivity is uh, this is one third of n V average LC, that is one third n V average square tau c, where V average is the thermal velocity and C is the specific heat per electron. If we now divide this thermal conductivity by the electrical conductivity sigma, it turns out to be mv square c by 3 square, which is independent of the form of the velocity distribution of the electrons. If we assume according to the Drude model that the distribution is Boltzmannian, we may write 3 kT for mv square, and instead of the specific heat per electron, we can use the ideal gas expression 3 by 2 k. Thus k by sigma is equals to 3 k square t divided by 2 square, and this is exactly the form of the Wiedemann-Franz law, where the proportionality constant is expressed in terms of the fundamental physical constants, that is the electronic charge and the Boltzmann constant. So a typical critique of the Drude model is that in order to estimate the extent of the Drude model's success, we must check its quantitative accord with experiment. First, we confront with experiment the relation. We calculate the proportionality coefficient and obtain 3k square over 2 square is equals to 1.11 into 10 to the power minus 8 watt ohm per Kelvin square. This is about one half of the typical value as shown in the metals, but it can be considered a success in light of the rough assumptions made. But what actually casts doubt on the validity of the calculation in the problem of the specific heat? In deriving this equation, we took 3k by 2 for the specific heat per electron. In metals, the number of electrons is at least equal to the number of ions. The contribution of the electrons to the specific heat is expected to be very significant, but the experimental specific heat of solids does not surpass the Dulong-Petit value, which is 3 R per mole, and does not approach 4.5 R per mole. The sum of the contribution of the crystal and the expected electronic contribution. In other words, free electrons do not obey the equipartition law. This fact puts in doubt the validity of our calculation, and since it turns out that experimentally there is no support for the validity of the equipartition law for electrons in a metal. Another difficulty shows up upon a deeper examination of Ohm's law. Actually, we cannot calculate from first principle the electrical conductivity and compare it to experimental results because we do not know the mean free time tau, which depends on the details of the microscopic structure of the metal. However, we can use known values of the resistivity rho to calculate tau, or the mean free path LD according to the Drude model is nearly equals to root under 3 mkt divided by n square rho. Let us calculate the dimension of this right hand side term. The numerator, that is root under mkt on the right side, has the dimensions of the momentum, and eventually the unit is kg meter second inverse and joule second meter inverse. Resistivity has the dimension of resistance times length, or rho is equals to ohm meter, that is voltmeter per ampere, that is joule meter per coulomb ampere, that is joule meter second divided by coulomb square. The whole denominator has the dimensions of joule second per meter to the power minus 2. Hence the dimension of the right hand side is joule second meter inverse divided by joule second meter to the power minus 2. That is the dimension of length, that is meter. So obviously the mean free path is at the order of length. Let us know how to calculate it. The mean free path is given approximately by the product of the average speed between the collisions, that is V average, and the mean free time. The average speed according to Drude model is the thermal speed obtained from the Boltzmann distribution, that is half mv square average nearly equals to 3 by 2 kt. And we all know J is equals to sigma times C and sigma is equals to n square tau by m. That is L is equals to V times V average times tau, that is m V average divided by n square rho, and putting the value of average velocity, this is equals to root over 3 mkt by n square. Now quick look back to the Sommerfeld model. The discovery of the Pauli principle and the Fermi-Dirac distribution provided Sommerfeld with the tools for explaining the electrical conductivity as well as the thermal conductivity of metals, which were left unexplained within the framework of classical physics. Sommerfeld replaced the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution of the Drude model by a velocity distribution of electrons that obey Fermi-Dirac statistics. This is similar to what Planck was done, replacing the classical distribution functions with its own to explain the properties of blackbody radiation. We start by calculating thermodynamic potential, that is omega. Thermodynamic potential is the form of omega, right, for electrons in a metal. We already have the general expression for this potential as the sum over single particle states, and what remains is to identify the single particle states and to calculate the sum. The single particle states are states of free electrons confined to move inside the metal. Their energy is p square by 2m. They are quantum particles, so that in principle we should perform the summation over all the quantum states of the particle in a three-dimensional box. For the temperatures of interest in a macroscopic volume V, the summation can be replaced by an integration, and schematically we make the replacement summation over K is replaced by volume times integration dqp by hq, where p is the Dobroi momentum is equals to h cut k, but we should keep in mind that the electron has spin half, and thus a complete specification of its state must also include the spin, plus minus half. Since to any p, that is momentum specifying a single particle state, correspond two spin states, and since the single particle energy is independent of the spin direction, the sum over the spins contributes an overall factor 2, that is the spin degeneracy. The thermodynamic potential is therefore actually this potential omega is equals to minus kT ln z. Putting this in this, we bought this omega is equals to, this is the spin degeneracy term, 2 minus kT. This is v, from this we can get v, and from this ln 1 plus e to the power beta times mu minus p square by twice m d cube p by h cube. And carrying out the integration over all the directions of momentum, we obtain this is equals to minus 8 pi v kt divided by h cube integration 0 to infinity ln 1 plus exponential beta times mu minus p square by twice m and p square dt. So from this expression for the thermodynamic potential, we can obtain the average number of electrons as n is equals to 8 pi v by h cube integration 0 to infinity p square dp divided by e to the power beta times p square by twice m minus mu plus 1. So in principle, given the expression for this potential, omega, right, is a function of T, V, temperature, volume and chemical potential. The thermodynamic properties of the system followed by applying these equations. In practice, things are more complicated since usually it is the number or density of the electrons and not the chemical potential that is the controlled variable. Hence, we must re-express the chemical potential in terms of the number of particles as well as the temperature and the volume, which expresses this relation implicitly. The integral must be calculated as best we can. Then inverting the resulting relations, that is n is a function of t, v and mu, or better still n by v, that is the number density small n, is a function of t and mu. One obtains mu is a function of t and n, which replaces the dependence of chemical potential by a dependence of n in all the thermodynamic quantities. Next, we calculate the probability density. You have come across this in the last, okay, this one. The probability density function in velocity space for the electrons, and it is given by Fp d cube v is equals to 2m cube by nh cube 1 over exponential beta times epsilon minus mu. This epsilon takes half mv square for free electron plus 1 d cube v, where small n, okay, is the number of electrons per unit volume, and this function is the Fermi-Dirac analog of the Maxwell-Boltzmann velocity distribution function. This one, okay. So using the Fermi-Dirac velocity distribution function, we can calculate the average energy of the electron in the metals, that is uh, energy average is equals to m by 2 v square, this uh, probability density function fv d tau, which is 4 pi m to the power 4 divided by nh cube integration 0 to infinity v to the power 4 dv by exponential beta times half mv square minus mu plus 1. This equation may also be written as an integral over all the energies after changing the variables. This epsilon is equals to half mv square, and then defining an energy distribution function if epsilon is a function of epsilon is equals to 4 pi 2m to the power 3 by 2 epsilon to the power half divided by nh cube times the Fermi-Dirac distribution function 1 over e to the power beta epsilon by minus mu plus 1, so that we get the energy average is equals to integration 0 to infinity epsilon, the distribution function f epsilon d epsilon. So we will now discuss the electrons at high and low temperatures. To proceed, we calculate the various integrals. In each range of parameters, we introduce approximations valid for that range. This is how we proceed also in calculating the internal position function of a diatomic gas. We will study the behavior of the electron gas at high temperatures and low temperatures. Hence, we need to know how the distribution functions of the velocities or of the energies behave in these limits. But here is a difficulty arises. The dependence on the temperature T, that is, or on beta, beta is equals to 1 upon kT, is more complicated than may seem. The chemical potential mu, once replaced by the density N, becomes dependent on the temperature as well as N. To clarify how the chemical potential depends on the temperature, dividing both sides by V and changing variables to epsilon is equals to P square by twice M, the density small n becomes 4 pi 2m to the power 3 by 2 divided by h cube integration 0 to infinity epsilon to the power half d epsilon divided by e to the power beta epsilon minus mu plus 1. In this limit, in which the electron density is very low, that is n tending to 0, the value of the integral must become very small. The right hand side is a monoatomic increasing function of beta mu. Since the integrand is at every epsilon, hence the integral decreases as beta mu decreases. And for it to become very small, we must have beta mu tending to minus infinity. Consequently, for low electron density, it is possible to approximate n epsilon epsilon by the Boltzmann factor c to the power minus beta epsilon, where c is equals to e to the power beta mu, where we have dropped these braces. The same classical behavior is obtained also in the high temperature limit. As beta tending to 0, beta mu approaches a finite limit, and the integrand in this number density n becomes independent of epsilon, and the integral diverges. For a given value of n, this leads to a contradiction unless again beta mu tending to minus infinity in the limit of high temperature. So one arrives again at the classical Boltzmann distribution at high temperature. What happens at low temperature? The behavior is quite different. When T tending to 0, beta tending to infinity, the factor e to the power beta times epsilon minus mu depends on the energy epsilon in the following manner. If epsilon if epsilon less than mu, the exponent is negative and e to the power beta epsilon minus mu tending to 0. If epsilon greater than mu, the exponent is positive and e to the power beta times epsilon minus mu tending to infinity. Thus, in the limit t tending to 0, so if epsilon is greater than mu, the exponent is positive and e to the power beta times epsilon minus mu tending to infinity. Thus, in the limit t tending to 0, n epsilon is equals to, like a step function, is equals to 1 when epsilon is less than the chemical potential and 0 if epsilon is greater than the chemical potential. So, in this limit, the integral in number density is elementary and the following relation is obtained between the chemical potential at absolute 0 is mu naught and the density of electrons mu naught is equals to h square divided by twice n, 3n divided by 8 by to the power 2/3. That is the epsilon f or the Fermi energy. So the chemical potential at absolute 0 is called the Fermi energy and is denoted by epsilon f. The meaning of this Fermi energy: even at absolute 0, the electrons must have kinetic energy. This is the crucial difference with respect to the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution, for which, as the temperature decreases, the number of low energy particles increases, and at absolute temperature T equals to 0, all the particles are concentrated at the ground level epsilon equals to 0. This can also be deduced from the equipartition law, as energy average is nearly equals to kT. So average energy, that is epsilon bar, is nearly equals to kT. The reason for the different behavior of the electrons is of course the Pauli principle, which forbids the accumulation of many electrons in the same state. Hence the electrons have no alternative but to stack one above the other in energy and to fill out all the allowed low energy states. The last among them with the highest energy are at epsilon f, that is the Fermi energy. Such a state of a gas is called a degenerate Fermi gas. I repeat, the last among them with the highest energy are at epsilon f, and such a state of a gas is called a degenerate Fermi gas. Thus, we could have obtained the Fermi energy simply as an answer to the following question: what energy will be reached by capital N electrons occupying the capital N lowest single particle states? Having said that, if anyone asks you to solve this, show that the capital N electrons fill out in momentum space sphere of radius Pf, which satisfy Pf square divided by twice m is equals to epsilon f, you can readily answer this by this. The energy of an electron is given by epsilon is equals to 1 by twice m px square plus py square plus pz square, and each of the momentum components is quantized. Since the energy depends only on the magnitude of the vector p, the state with the lowest energy of capital N electrons will be that in which the electrons are closest to the origin or momentum space, In this state, the electrons occupy all the states inside a sphere, that is the Fermi sphere, which, whose radius Pf is determined by their number. So a two-dimensional projection of the three-dimensional case is illustrated in this figure. The volume of the sphere is 4/3 pi pf cube, and the energy of the extremal states with momentum pf is pf square divided by 2m. If we show that this energy is equal to epsilon f, uh, we arrive at the required result, and to this end we note that since a single state occupies a volume h cube in phase space, the volume of the single state in momentum space is h cube divided by v. The number of states contained in the Fermi sphere is given by the ratio of its volume and the volume of a single state. But this is still to be multiplied by 2 in order to take into account the two spin states corresponding to each momentum state, and hence 2 times 4/3 pi pf cube divided by h cube by v is equals to the total number of particles. The Fermi momentum Pf is equals to 3n by 8 pi to the power 1/3 times h, and the relationship to the Fermi energy epsilon f is equals to Pf square by 2m. What is intended to be proved in this question? Now further moving on, if someone asked uh, to show that the average kinetic energy of an electron at t equals to 0 is 3/5 of the Fermi energy, the surface of the sphere, as showed in the last problem, is called the Fermi sphere, and Pf is called the Fermi momentum. Hence, we will say that at t tending to 0, the electrons fill out the Fermi sphere. That is, all the states up to the Fermi momentum or up to Fermi energy. The top electrons, those with Fermi energy, move at the Fermi velocity. Vf is equals to Pf by m. Further note, the energy values reached by the electrons at temperature T equals to 0 for electrons in a classical ideal gas to attain kinetic energies of this order, their temperature must obey K times Tf, that is Fermi temperature, is equals to epsilon f. This temperature, which is different for each material, is called the Fermi temperature and appears in the third row of the previous table. It reaches tens of thousands of degrees. As we shall see later, the Fermi temperature determines the scale of high versus low temperatures of electrons. For T very greater than Tf, the electrons behave as classical gas, whereas for T far smaller than Tf, the system becomes degenerate. Now come to the problem here. The Fermi energy plays a double role. One as the maximal kinetic energy state occupied by electrons at T equals to 0. The other is the value of the chemical potential at T equals to 0. The relation between the two is clear. The chemical potential describes the increase in the system's free energy at constant volume and temperature upon addition of a single particle. At T equals to 0, the free energy is equal to the internal energy, and hence the chemical potential is the excess internal energy due to the addition of the particle. Since at T equals to 0, all the levels below epsilon f are occupied, a particle that is added to the system must have energy epsilon f. This is therefore also the value of the chemical potential at T equals to 0. We can calculate the average energy directly from this equation, and it is possible to write if epsilon in a simpler form in terms of the Fermi energy, like 3 by 2 epsilon f to the power 3 by 2. epsilon to the power half divided by e to the power beta epsilon minus mu plus 1, and using the approximation we obtain the energy average is equals to 3 by 2 epsilon f to the power 3 by 2 integration 0 to epsilon f epsilon to the power 3 by 2 d epsilon, which is after a small calculation turns out to be 3/5 of epsilon f. We have found that T tending to 0, the chemical potential tends to the positive constant epsilon f, and that at T tending to infinity, it decreases to minus infinity. Hence, it is reasonable to expect that mu decreases as a function of temperature. We will verify this in the later on. So the next problem is calculate the temperature at which the chemical potential of an electron gas vanishes. Substitute mu equals to 0 in the previous equation, and which gave us 2 of epsilon f to the power 3 by 2 is equals to integration 0 to infinity epsilon to the power half divided by to the power beta epsilon plus 1 d epsilon, and perform the variables like x, taking x equals to beta epsilon to obtain 2/3 of beta epsilon f to the power 3 by 2 is equals to integration 0 to infinity x to the power half dx divided by e to the power x plus 1. And this equation determines the required temperature in terms of epsilon f, and the integral is with v is equals to 3 by 2. It's the value of 1 minus 1 upon root 2 times gamma function and zeta function. Gamma 3 by 2 is zeta 3 by 2, which is 0.678, and hence beta times the Fermi energy is equals to 1.01, and eventually T is equals to 0.98 times the Fermi temperature.